Hello and welcome back to my garden. Today we're going to be touring the flower garden. If you're new to the channel, and there are a few of you who are new to the channel, you may have seen recently my vegetable garden tour, which is right here. Where I'm standing is what I like to refer to as the Grand Walkway because it stretches from where you guys are all the way back to those trees back there. But right over here I have my flower garden. So let's go take a quick look at the flower garden and see what's growing and not growing. For those of you who've been watching the channel for a while, you know I'm not a master gardener. For those of you who are new to the channel, I am not a master gardener. If I keep a plant alive, it's a success. So if you're expecting large, beautiful flower beds, much as you may see over at Garden Answer, that's not going to happen here. No, I'm working on it. I'm working on it, and I think I'm going to get there one day. I'm optimistic in that regards, but not today. But where we're starting here is just inside the entrance to the flower garden, and this is my dahlia bed. Now the dahlia bed is all of the named dahlias that I have. I've been growing more and more dahlias from seed. They are unnamed varieties, but they're still dahlias. I really do enjoy them, and the deer don't touch them, so I'm going to be growing a lot more of them over the upcoming years. But this is my named dahlia bed. I did a video on this last fall and I think last winter and early this spring about how I redid this whole bed fairly recently, and I replanted a bunch of dahlias in here that I had from divisions. So I took tubers and I divided them and then I replanted them this spring. Many of them are doing very good, some of them not so good. Unfortunately, it looks like I have lost several other plants. This is probably due to the heat. It's been quite hot here this summer so far, and we're not even into August. August is apocalyptic. But thankfully we've been getting rain. If most of these plants don't flower this fall, if they just stay alive and green, I will consider it a success. That just means the tubers underneath the ground are just going to be getting bigger and stronger, which I'm okay with, because then next year they'll come back as a bigger, stronger plant. I do have a couple of plants over here that are flowering. This one over here is Winky Kernel. It should be about this tall when it's flowering. Unfortunately, it's much shorter. Here's another one. This is David Howard. David Howard should be yay tall, at least, and it is not. A little stunted, but the plant is still alive. They're still putting on flowers. Let's move down the row. This area right here, which is covered in the black weed fabric, I'll be pulling more of this back. I'll be planting gladiolus in this space here. Not the entire space, but part of it. But right here, I have red hot pokers. I had divided a couple of red hot pokers, I believe it was last year. Gave away a bunch of the divisions, and I had, I think, 6 left over here. Planted them up. They're very small plants right now. There's nothing much to see, but hopefully next year they're twice the size and they're putting up the flower stalks, and then they fill this whole area. Right over here, I have my fun basil combination here where I tried to do almost like a checkerboard pattern with dark opal basil and Genovese basil. So you have the two contrasting colors there, and it's kind of worked out. It's a fun thing. I'm letting all of this go to flower, by the way, because the bees love it. The bees are actually swarming all over it right now, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to grow it. Plus, the deer don't eat it, so there's a plus right there. Let's start in the back. I have a banana tree. I bought the banana tree at a local plant sale earlier this year. It's a hardy banana tree, so when we do get our frosts and our freezes, I presume it's going to do a little dieback, but then it should come back just fine next spring. So I'm looking forward to that. It has been growing with the heat and humidity like crazy, and I'm loving this. This is one of the plants that I wanted when I decided to build this garden down here in eastern North Carolina. I wanted a banana tree and I wanted a palm tree. Haven't gotten the palm yet, but I got the banana. So that is working out quite well. I don't know much about banana trees, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of homework. I see some smaller shoots growing up from the bottom, and I'm not sure about how you're supposed to handle all of that, but it's growing, it's thriving, life is good. Right up front, I have a cinnamon basil. This was an extra basil that I had laying around on the bench, and again, the bees love the flowers and the deer don't eat it, so I figured why not, because this space was empty, because I thought my deer resistant bear's breeches were supposed to be, they're supposed to have like leaves that go out 6 feet. Well, that didn't happen. The deer kept hitting them, and finally I gave up and I got these. I've had these for a few years now, these chicken wire cloches. So I just put the chicken wire cloche right over the top just to keep the deer from hitting them. They're starting to grow back now, so hopefully Next year they'll do a whole lot better, and maybe by next year, as the leaves get bigger and more mature, because I think they're supposed to have like a little spiky or thorny leaves. I'm not sure about that, but hopefully they won't eat a more mature leaf next year. Maybe, I don't know. Right in the front, I was supposed to have a bunch of Sweet William, so I might as well pull these tags up, which are good reminders of where I planted the Sweet William and now how they're all dead. So obviously the deer came through, ate the Sweet Williams, or pulled them out of the ground, thus killing them, and then proceeded to eat the bear's breeches leaves. So this is the way it goes sometimes. Just as a side note, last night before we got a little bit of rain, I ran around the garden with some marigold seeds that I collected last year, and I started stuffing them in the ground all over the garden. So hopefully when we do maybe a fall tour, those marigolds will be up and they'll be looking nice, and they'll also help fill in some of the blank spots and gaps. Moving a little further down the bed, we got some verbena. It's looking a little rough, but it's doing well. I had planted some balsam last year out here in the garden, and it has been self-seeding kind of everywhere, and I'm okay with that. I like plants that will do that and they will self-seed, and the bees are loving the flowers too. Right in front here, I planted a nice drift of gomphrena. Unfortunately, the deer, I'm presuming it's mostly the babies who are trying things out for the first time and testing them, they ate all the flower heads off. But many of the plants, actually it looks like all the plants, are pretty much still alive. So we will see what happens with the gomphrena. Some mums that I've had for a few years now, planted them out last year. And in the corner there, we have a Russian sage. I believe it's baby blue jeans. And it's been loving the heat. I put it in a super free draining mix when I planted them out last year. The mixture is sinking in the pot. So I think this winter, maybe, or early next spring, I will have to pull them out of the pots, rejuvenate the pots, and then replant the sages into the pots. Where I'm standing right here, this is the entrance over to the next garden area, which is still in development. We'll talk more about that in the future. Right here is another plant which is supposed to be deer resistant. I believe this is a giant ironweed. It's supposed to be deer resistant, but the deer had other ideas. Again, probably the babies, but it is still alive and still growing. And then of course, here's the other Russian sage that I have flanking this entrance. Right here is a large clump of canna. I planted 2 or 3 roots last year, I believe it was, and yeah, it grows like wildfire down here and will absolutely take over and consume an entire flower bed. So this is probably the last year I'm going to be growing these canna. Don't know what varieties these are. I believe this is probably like a natural variety, not like a proven winners hybrid. I'm going to be taking out all the canna throughout the flower garden this upcoming fall. There is one variety that will continue to grow, and I'll show you that when we get there, but they're becoming a bully and a thug. I may replant them someplace else out in the garden, not sure, but we'll have to wait and see. But all of this canna will be coming out. Right here's my iris bed area. In the back, I've got a bunch of Agastache giant hyssops. They're growing, they're thriving. The deer don't touch them. The bees absolutely love them, which is fantastic. And I have a variety of irises here. Some of these flowered this year, so hopefully next year all of them flower because they'll be more well established. So we'll have to wait and see. But interplanted amongst them are many salvias. They're doing quite well at the moment, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I did try planting an agapanthus. There was a video about that fairly recently, and it's, yeah, no bueno. There's another plant tag that just acts as a grave marker. So there's an opportunity to plant something right here at some later point, which I will have to figure out. But this space is turning out quite nicely, and I'm hoping that next year, when the salvias that I planted in here, which are all very small right now, that they all start flowering, so that there's some color and something to look at in this space other than just the lovely foliage of the irises. This area right here is definitely going to go through a transformation next year. Right up front over here, I planted some agapanthus, which again, I'm hoping will fill out and flower next year. They're very small right now. Just a few plants over here. Along the back over here, I have rose mint agastache, doing well. But one of the plants that I have is black-eyed Susan, not doing well. And I think there's a Gara over here, which isn't doing so well. But that is a gap here. And I think I'm going to fill the gap with rose campion. I had it flower in another part of the garden up by the house earlier this year. The flowers are absolutely beautiful. So since I enjoyed the flowers so much, I think what I'm going to do is try to fill the rest of this space up with the rose campion. So I'll be planting more plants in here next year, and then hopefully I'll get many more flowers out of that. Right here in this corner, this is probably one of the nicer corners, or better. I've put a lot of effort into this corner and some of the street facing beds because, well, everybody sees them more clearly than they do the other beds. I just pulled a pine tree out of the bed. Pine tree is one of my weeds down here, believe it or not. Right here, I have several peonies. These peonies did flower this year. It was the first year that they were here, and they flowered, which is really spectacular. Normally, after you transplant or move a peony, they won't flower for 2 to 3 or 4 years. They're funny like that. But this year, all of my peonies in this corner flowered after I moved them last year. I don't know why. I'm not going to question it. I'm pretty happy about it. Right here, I've got another cinnamon basil growing up, hopefully to help fill out the space. Back over here, I have a standing cypress. This plant is not supposed to be flowering right now, but it is flowering. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I think the hummingbirds will like it if they've discovered it. I grew it back here for them. Now this is supposed to get, I believe, 4 to 6 feet tall, if I'm not mistaken. So that's also why I have it towards the back of the border. Over here are some more peonies. Again, they flowered. And right up front, I have a licorice white agastache. It's in the wrong location. It needs to be moved. So I think this fall, this plant will get moved, and I'm probably going to put it towards the back over here. As you can, hopefully, I think it's in shot. There's more licorice white agastaches over there. The bees are loving them. Right next to this Gaura, this whirling butterflies Gaura, I have some Nicotiana jasmine. It's been doing pretty well. I don't think the deer have nibbled on it at all. The plants hopefully will get bigger next year if they survive the winter. Otherwise, my hope is they self-seed in this area and just give me a nice clump. The Gaura right here, this is its actual second flush. I had cut it back after the springtime when all the flowers were spent, and now it's obviously flowering again. Really enjoying that. These Gaura right here, these smaller ones, this is little Jane Gaura. I also gave them a cut back, but they're slow to reflush, but I do see new growth on them already. So hopefully by the time the fall comes along, they can join their cousin right over here and have a wonderful flowering. And then right here is my Lucifer Crocrosmia. It flowered, probably 2-3 weeks ago. So I think I put some pictures over on Instagram, but these guys are done flowering. So right now all I have is the leafy, grassy parts, but that's okay. The deer don't eat it, which is another plus. I'm thinking next year maybe interplanting, because there are some gaps in here, and I'm thinking maybe interplanting it with something along the lines of marigolds. Right here I have another rose mint agastache. This one is a little worse for wear. It was looking much better earlier in the season, but it's not doing so great right now, and I'm not sure why. Thinking it might be wind. Again, not 100% sure. Many of the flowers look like they're going over, so I just may wind up giving this guy a haircut back, and maybe it'll reflush for the fall. Right over here, I have more Victory salvias, and I have some other Victory salvias just further down the bed, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I plan on, in the fall time, bringing those down here to help fill in the space. I have a couple of small seedlings that are hanging in there, but I'm thinking if I can just cram more plants in here, it'll also help fill in the space. We're moving into the shadier corner of the flower garden, and that's because we're underneath a pine tree. Most of this area is under some form of shade during the daytime. Some of the areas get a little more sun than others. This area is now going into shade. It got a lot of morning sun. Now we're going into the shady part of the day, and it'll pretty much stay that way until late evening when it will start to get quite a bit more sun again. Right next to me, which is really hard to see, is one of my surviving, I believe this is Sweet Rocket, and the plan was to fill the area with Sweet Rocket behind the bench, and it'll pull out these lovely little white flowers here. But not all the seeds took this year, and the deer have hit them a couple of times, but only the flowers, not the plant itself. So the plant itself is still all right. So maybe they'll bounce back next year. Maybe some seeds will take. Who knows? But I'll probably throw out another seed packet or two of seeds again behind the bench here. Along the back, I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see it, but the plan is to grow a hedge of the golden ticket privet. It's working out pretty well so far. It's going to take a number of years for them to grow. So far, many of the plants are growing, they're thriving. Hopefully in another 3 to 4 years, there'll be nice 4-foot hedges, and that'll just be wonderful. Maybe it'll keep the deer out of the garden just a little bit more. It'll act as maybe a protective screen, also a bit of a wind block, and it'll provide a backdrop to the bed area itself. But also throughout this area, like right here, I have foxgloves. Now this foxglove did not flower this year, which means it'll flower next year, but I had several foxgloves that did flower this year, and I spread their seeds all throughout this area. So my hope is, and this was always part of the original plan, is that the area will just become filled with foxgloves, and then maybe in the fronts I can plant something different, but the foxgloves will become the predominant plant in this space. Right over here, these are my Blue Victory salvias. These, I really shouldn't have planted them here being in so much shade, but I did. They're doing all right. Some of them are even flowering, but I'm thinking that the plan, as I mentioned earlier, this fall will be to dig them up, transplant them with the other Blue Victories where they'll be in full sun, they'll be much happier. And then in this space here, I have a couple of astilbes that are over in the driveway bed, and I think I'm gonna move them over here because they're getting bullied out from where they are over in the driveway bed area. A lot more foxgloves. There's even a few foxgloves over here that are flowering, but I also have quite a bit of empty bed space in here as well. So it gives me so there's more opportunity to plant a variety of other plants in this space, maybe this fall. Right in this spot where I'm squatting, I forget, I think it was always a bit of a blank spot, and then my plan was to fill it with something this year. Unfortunately, I did not. But what I do have is my English boxwood, which is looking fabulous back here. It's putting on a bunch of new growth, and I'll give it a haircut in the fall sometime, probably late fall. Along the back over here are some more boxwoods which are growing in. Again, I hope to have like a 4-foot hedge in time growing up. But right over here, these are my White Breeze daisies. And they're starting to flower again. They had flowered for the springtime, put on a huge big show, but right now they've just got a couple of flower stalks. My Liantris has all just gone over. It's done flowering. I don't, though, have anything planted where I'm squatting. Actually, I have a couple ideas for next spring. So hopefully I can get this space filled in next year. Maybe. We'll see. Let's move further down the row. Right back here is crepe myrtle. I started from a little bare root thing that I got from Arbor Day Foundation, I believe. I wanted to grow here to provide a little bit more shade so I could grow some more shade or semi-shade loving plants such as astilbes, Japanese anemone, that kind of thing. Plants that would enjoy a little bit more shade from our brutal North Carolina sun. Hopefully you could see, I'm trying not to step on plants, it has these lovely pink flowers on it right now. Right here in front of me, I believe it's called Valencia calla lily. Calla lilies do well for me. The deer don't eat them, and these calla lilies now have been in the same spot for at least 3, maybe 4 years. So I'm going to dig them up, I think, this fall. And if I'm not mistaken, they're a bulb, and I'm going to divide them and spread them all throughout this space. Let me show you the one canna that I will be keeping this year. This is Toucan Scarlet Canna. It's a Proven Winners variety. And we've had it in the ground now for 2 years, and it really hasn't spread. So my guess is that this is what Proven Winners has changed with the plant itself, as they've done something to its DNA, its genetics, that prevent it from spreading. I'm okay with that. It puts out these lovely light pink flowers, and this will just keep flowering right on through till the fall. All right, moving down the row here. Again, more canna that needs to come out. It's actually bullying some gladiolus right now. Right here, I have a dahlia. I think it's Winky Kernel. Not sure. It's definitely not one of the ones I grew from seed. I think it was a named variety that I lost the label on. Either way, it's growing and thriving here, which I'm pretty happy about. In the very front, you guys won't be able to see it because they're very tiny, but I still have Sweet William with the deer have not destroyed. The star of this area, though, are right here. I have a bunch of different snapdragons. These whiter ones are Apple Blossom. And then all around in front, I have Tetra Mix and I have Rocket Orchid snapdragons. They're all doing very well. And my hope is that many of these self-seed in this area, and we just continue to get a flush of snapdragons growing in this area for many years to come. Right in this area here, this area is mostly filled with Apollo Dutch Iris in the springtime, and they're wonderful. but I needed something to start filling in the area after they were done. I had Betonia, which I had growing in pots up on the potting bench. I planted them right up front here. Hopefully they survive the winter. They are perennial. They should start filling out this area right here, which would be nice. And I planted out a bunch of Sweet Williams also in this area, which for the most part look untouched by the deer, which I'm pretty happy about. Hopefully they all continue to grow and thrive, and again, help fill in this area so that when the Apollo Dutch Iris are done in the springtime, there'll be something else to follow in behind them. I'm not sure if it's going to show up on camera, but I have some yellow marigold popping up in the back next to this canna here. And right here next to me is Easter Candy Bearded Iris. Looking a little rough right now with some burnt edges. Not sure if it's a watering issue, maybe too little, too much. Right here next to me, I think we're still in camera shot here, I have some Blackberry Lily. They put out these wonderful little orange flowers. Right up front here, or right next to it, I have Maltese Cross. Really enjoying it. It has been slowly self-seeding itself, but these little red flowers just add a little bit of splash to the area. I have some foxgloves in full sun that are thriving and surviving. In fact, they're repopulating this entire area, which is really fun. Alaska Shasta Daisy, I have to come back through, and I have to chop it at least in half. As you can see, many of the seed heads or many of the flower heads are going over to seed. It looks really rough right now, so I'm going to chop this back, and hopefully in the fall it reflushes with a new fresh batch of flowers. In the back, hopefully you guys can see it, I have Speedy Sonnet Yellow Snapdragons. I bought one plant a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, planted it back there, and little did I know, it just started, I wasn't even really paying attention, but it started self-seeding itself, and I'm pretty happy about that. I kind of like that. I don't know if I'm going to leave them there, if I'll eventually move them towards the front of the bed. Maybe I will, maybe I'll leave them there, but they're doing quite well. And it's gotten a little cloudy since we've started this tour, and I'm pretty happy about that. It's quite warm. Last year, I believe I had a ton of canna, ripped all that out. In its place, I planted a mixed dahlia variety. Grew from seed, planted them out. They haven't done anything yet, but they're still alive. They're getting pretty thick here, which is nice. So maybe in the fall these will all go to flower. Maybe, we'll see. Right in here, this is a bit of a hot mess. I have a variety of yarrow. It's white. It just grows like a weed, and I really need to come through this space. I really want to get the yarrow a little bit back under control, and I also have some other things growing in this space that I'm not sure what they are. I suspect they may not be things that I planted. I do have some coneflower, which the deer have not eaten. Pretty happy about that. Oh, and there's a giant yellow garden spider. She's living her best life. Got a net set up there between the coneflower and the gladiolus leaves. But this is another area, after I clear it out and go through it, that maybe it'll present a new planting opportunity for something else. Right up front here, I have Alaska Shasta Daisy. I cut them back a little harsh, but they're alive, they're thriving, they're growing. I may come back this fall and do a little division on the plant itself. Right here's another coneflower. I can't remember what variety this is, but obviously the deer have not eaten it. I'm very thrilled with that. I love coneflowers, love echinacea. Unfortunately, so do the deer. Right here in front of me, I have a nice clump of dahlias. Having grown these now in this location, I've quickly discovered this is probably not the best because they get overwhelmed by the gladiolus and the daisies and some of the other plants here because they don't grow that tall. So what I'm thinking is this fall they will get dug up and moved. All right, I was just talking about moving the dahlias. The battery died, so we're moving on. Right here at my feet, I have some mums, chrysanthemums, and some more balsam, which is growing, looking good. It fills in the area, it self-seeds. The bees love the flowers. I can't complain. Right next to it, I have sea holly. I need to deadhead that. It's going over, and I already have a lot of seedlings in this area of the sea holly. So hopefully next year, this will be a much larger, nicer looking clump. Right back here, I had 4 foot tall at least, white licorice agastache. This is my oldest white licorice agastache in the garden, and it was awesome, but unfortunately all the flowers were going over. So cut it back now in hopes that in the fall this will reflush And I don't think it'll get to 4 foot tall, probably about 3 foot tall, but I'll get a new flush of white licorice agastache, those flowers to enjoy in the fall. A few more things here in the garden. Right in here, I have a Coreopsis. I do not know the variety of Coreopsis, but it's been there for 3-4 years at least. Lovely little yellow flowers. Right here in front of me, another red hot poker, and something very interesting happening, which I've never seen before. I have some wasps building a nest right on the leaves of the red hot poker. I've never seen that before. I presume they're wasps. They look like kind of like wasps. So I'm going to leave them alone. I don't think I'm going to bother them. If they want to build a nest there, so be it. And then here we are back at the entrance to the flower garden where we once started, with the dahlias over here. Behind me, the vegetable garden. I know this is probably a long video. I do apologize for that. If you guys have any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, anything like that, please leave them below. If you guys are growing flowers this year, how are your flowers growing? What's happening in your garden? Have you encountered any new problems or pests or issues that you've had, or are you growing a new plant for the first time and it's working and succeeding in your garden? Please let me know and let everybody else know in the comments below. If you guys haven't checked out all the links below, please check out the links below. If you want to see a map of the garden and where we are in relation to everything else, head over to growinggreenfinger.com, the garden. I have links for that in the description as well below. And I think that's going to wrap it up for today. It's pretty warm, so I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.